JSON short story. That morning, staring at the eviction notice taped to my door, the cold dread was worse than any winter chill. For years, I told myself I wasn't cut out for anything real, always starting projects but never finishing. The endless cycle of enthusiasm, followed by crushing doubt, kept me stuck. But that day, something shifted. I didn't decide to write a book. I decided to write one sentence every single morning, no matter how terrible. A tiny, consistent effort, day after day, slowly chipped away at my self-doubt. It wasn't about the words, but the discipline. Eventually, that led to a finished manuscript, then a published novel. You have that same untapped power. Don't wait for perfection. /N today, choose one small step. Commit to just 5 minutes of that thing you keep putting off. Full story, that morning, staring at the eviction notice taped to my door, the world felt like it was caving in. The cheap apartment, the unpaid bills, the empty fridge, it all screamed one devastating word: failure. Cold dread seeped into my bones, worse than any winter chill I'd ever known. My hands were shaking, not from the cold, but from the raw fear that had become my constant companion. /N, I was 27, and I felt like I was already at rock bottom, a place I'd visited far too many times. Growing up, I was always the quiet one, the kid with big ideas but no follow-through. I dreamed of creating, of building, of leaving some mark. But every attempt ended the same way. A burst of intense passion, followed by a slow, agonizing fade into procrastination and self-doubt. There was the Halferton screenplay gathering virtual dust on my hard drive, the coding course I'd paid for but never completed, the art supplies bought with enthusiasm that now sat untouched in a box. Each abandoned project reinforced the same old narrative in my head. You're not good enough. You'll never finish anything. Why even bother trying? /N, that internal voice, that constant whisper of inadequacy, was louder than ever as I crumbled onto the floor. I felt utterly paralyzed, caught in a cycle of wanting more, but being too afraid to take the necessary steps. The fear of judgment, the fear of failure, the fear of even trying and finding out I was truly incapable, it all kept me firmly planted in a comfort zone of mediocrity. Thought of starting something new, only to quit again, was almost unbearable. /N, but as I sat there, numb, something unexplainable flickered. It wasn't a grand epiphany, no sudden surge of superhero motivation. It was quieter, almost a whisper against the roaring storm in my head. What if I just tried one small thing? Something so small it felt ridiculous. The idea isn't to write a book, not even a chapter. It was simply to open my laptop and type something for 5 minutes. Just 5 minutes. No pressure, no judgment on the quality, no expectation of greatness. Just 5 minutes of focused effort. /N, I pulled out my old, clunky laptop, the one I used mostly for watching streaming shows. I opened a blank document. My fingers hovered over the keyboard. It felt absurd. What was 5 minutes going to accomplish? But I set a timer on my phone, took a deep breath, and started to type whatever came to mind. It was mostly nonsense, a stream of consciousness about my day, my worries, the cold apartment. When the timer buzzed, I closed the laptop. That was it. I had done it. /N, the next morning, the dread of the eviction notice was still there, but so was a tiny, almost imperceptible spark. I repeated the 5 minutes, and the next day, and the next. It wasn't easy. Some mornings, I stared at the screen, every fiber of my being screaming at me to quit, to go back to bed, to just scroll mindlessly. There were days the words wouldn't come, or when what I wrote felt utterly terrible. I felt foolish, like I was playing a game of pretend, but I had made a promise to myself, a small, quiet, daily promise. /N, over weeks, those 5 minutes stretched to 10, then 15. Subject matter slowly shifted from internal ramblings to fragments of ideas, character descriptions, bits of dialogue. Focus wasn't on the grand outcome. Finishing a novel felt light years away, but purely on showing up. Every single day, I showed up. I learned to ignore the voice of doubt, if only for those precious minutes. It wasn't about waiting for inspiration. It was about building momentum, one tiny brick at a time. Physical act of writing, the rhythm of the keyboard, slowly became a ritual. It was a grind, for sure. There were weekends I sacrificed social plans. Nights I stayed up later than I should have, all to get those words down. I faced rejections from small literary magazines when I bravely submitted a few short pieces. Each /No stung. But the consistent habit I'd built allowed me to absorb the blow and keep going. I was no longer a person who wanted to write. I was a person who writes. /N, the real breakthrough came not with external validation, but with an internal shift. I realized that my self-worth wasn't tied to the quality of my output on any given day, but to the commitment of the process. I started seeing myself as someone who persevered, not someone who quit. It was a profound identity change. After months, those fragments started to connect, and I had the bare bones of a story. Then painstakingly, I started structuring it. There were days I wanted to throw my laptop across the room, weeks where I felt stuck. But it was ingrained. I didn't have to motivate myself to write, I just did it. /N, eventually, after what felt like In eternity, I typed /the n/ on a first draft. It was rough, it was messy, but it was done. Feeling was indescribable. Wasn't perfect, but it was real. Long, arduous journey of editing, revising, and submitting began. The rejections piled up, but this time they didn't break me. They were just part of the process. Then one day, an email arrived. An acceptance. Small publisher, but they wanted my book. Holding that physical copy, seeing my name on the cover was surreal. It wasn't about becoming famous or rich. It was the quiet, profound confidence that I had overcome my deepest fear, the fear of never finishing. /n/n, the practical principle I learned, the one I carry with me every single day, is this. Don't wait for motivation, create momentum. Start small, ridiculously small if you have to. Consistency trumps intensity every single time. You don't need to see the entire staircase. You just need to focus on taking the next single step. Big dreams, the seemingly impossible goals. They are all built on a foundation of tiny, unremarkable, consistent actions. /n/, my life isn't a fairy tale now. But that single habit, that commitment to showing up day after day, has spilled into every area. I approach challenges differently. I know now that the biggest hurdle isn't the challenge itself, but just getting started. If I, the perpetual quitter, could build something real from nothing, imagine what you can do. Don't let the enormity of your goal paralyze you. Don't let the internal critic win. Your biggest dream starts with your smallest action. Don't wait for permission or for a sudden burst of inspiration. Start now. /n today. Choose one small step. Commit to just 5 minutes of that thing you keep putting off. Session it. Udobestry 20,231,027 V1.